St. Louis, and welcome to OnSTL.com.
Today's segment is brought to you by Abusi Matelli Insurance, continuously working to provide the individual coverage you require. They also handle commercial, life, and yes, health insurance. Contact Tina Michelli at 314-832-6667.
It was 3 years ago. It was in 2011 that you and I saw Give a Damn, the documentary made by three young men here in St. Louis.
They took, what was it, $1.49 or something?
$1.25 a day. They wanted to live on $1.25 a day. And Dan Paris, who was the instigator of this
Dan
film,
from Baldwin.
Exactly.
And Dan's been with us before about other things. But now the film still lives on under a new title. Tell us about that.
Yes, so we, Alfred Hitchcock said most films are never finished, they're only abandoned. And so we finally, in a sense, abandoned our film and said, okay, it's done. We delivered it to a distributor to get onto iTunes in April and all that. And so we're trying to do a national screening campaign, and we're starting here in St. Louis at the Esquire Theater on February 18th. And we went under a new title because we thought we could reach a wider audience.
What's the new title?
The new title is What Matters?
Which is kind of what the question that was posed at the end of the film,
exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to consider what matters.
It's more of an accurate question. I mean, the question Give a Damn, which was our original title, is kind of an obvious answer. Yes, you should care about people suffering. Only, I say sociopaths basically don't care about people who are suffering by definition. But what matters is more of an important question. Okay, you do, like, everybody cares to a degree, but what's our priorities? What is most important? What really matters? And I think our film tries to actually address that question more than it really even does the Give a Damn question.
It's a documentary. How old were you when you started this?
I started like when I was 23. I'm 29 now, but I actually went on the trip when I was 25. So
you and two good friends.
Yes, David and Rob.
That is still all in the movie.
All the all the. There's some significant changes. We reworked the intro. We think it's a stronger introduction. We reworked kind of the call to action at the end and different pieces. It's tightened up, better audio mix, that type of thing.
Now,
but it was you actually seeing what matters by was it your idea actually to do this?
It's one of those where I kind of started the ideas rolling, and then we each kind of gave. One guy's like, "Why don't we just hitchhike?" And another guy's like, "Why don't we?"
The idea was that you wanted to see if you could live on $1.25 a day, and initially you were going to do that here in America, right?
So the original concept was actually to go to Africa and just to try to learn about extreme poverty and ask questions, that type of thing. Then we realized, well, we actually have to live it for people to care. So we decided we would live on $1.25 a day here in the U.S., Europe, and Africa. So we hitchhiked from St. Louis to New York. Then we flew to Europe. We didn't count the transportation between continents as part of $1.25.
Because the swim is a bitch.
Yeah, that would have been. We wanted to work on boats, but nobody would get back to us. I guess they had some kind of insurance reasons, and you can't just be a hired hand on a boat that easy.
The first time I heard about your film was a story, I think it was CBS National News, about these guys who went to Europe, and you were in Africa, and you were in a plane, and the plane crashed. Yeah, right in the middle of your film.
That's how most people have heard about it. Obviously, it's a documentary, so that wasn't planned. We were flying over the second largest slum in Africa, and all of a sudden we hit two power lines. Before we knew it, nobody knows what happened. It's still unknown the cause of the plane crash. We hit two power lines, and that spun our plane into a building, and it landed upside down, caught on fire. My buddy Rob actually woke me up and helped me get out of the plane. And unfortunately, both the pilot and the co-pilot ended up dying, and only me and Rob lived.
It's an amazing story, and it really did change the film dramatically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it could sent it in a whole different direction. We were all three a unit, traveling together. But after the plane crash, one of us struggles in emotional poverty in a sense. Rob through post-traumatic stress and trying to rescue the pilots. Myself in more of a physical poverty in that the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I lost 45 pounds. I looked like I was someone starving, actually living on $1.25 a day. And then David continued in Africa for another 3.5 months. And the film
isn't David the one who was really reluctant to go to start with?
No, Rob
was. And he ended up dropping out. But David, with the easygoing attitude, I'll tell you, that's what I came away from that with, was that, your attitude is what takes you the distance. Because he was just so good-natured.
I think
he
was stoned. Pretty much half the
time. No, definitely. And I think for him, it was a lot about his faith and just relying on God, which is also a part of the story. Like, David really focuses on, God's going to take care of things. And while Rob, being an atheist, is like, we're the only ones looking out for each other. And that
so
worldview really impacted the story.
Why $1.25? Why not $1.45? I mean, what was it?
Well, the definition of extreme poverty, I think sent by the World Bank or the United Nations, is that 1.4 billion people live on $1.25 a day. So it was originally $1 a day, and then they actually changed change the facts
Yeah.
in the middle of us making our movie, so we
Good
changed
news,
to
guys. We
$1.25.
get another 25 cents a day.
Yeah, it was funny. One time we were walking down the street, I think in Kentucky, and David all of a sudden finds a quarter. He's like, $1.50 for me today.
So
Now-
really, it's not that you had to stick to $1.25. That's all you had. But whatever you could get past that, you were free
Yeah,
to do.
we did some begging. We did some dumpster diving. We obviously hitched some rides. We could take one free meal a day, but it had to be offered to us. We couldn't ask for it, and we just had to tell people what we were doing.
You
We
had
to share it.
Dave. Was it David's brother doing
And
camera
Tim,
work?
yeah, Tim actually flew to Africa just to work as a cameraman, and so then when me and Rob were in the crash, it was David and Tim who continued on. We did have a guide for a short term, but then one of our guides' actually brother was killed in the slum with a
Wow.
Jeez.
so they had to return, and then basically David and Tim continued on the journey.
This film will show 1 week from today at the Esquire, AMC Esquire on Clayton Road, and you must see this film. It is, and not only that, Dan will be there and David will be there
Correct,
for Q&A
correct.
after the film.
Yeah, it's going to be a great event. You actually have to buy your tickets online, so you have to go to whatmattersfilm.com. You can't just buy them at the door.
Really?
Okay.
But you have up until 4 hours before the screening to buy them online at whatmattersfilm.com. We have about 50-something tickets still to sell, to try to sell out, so that's
Sure.
kind of our goal is to
Let's
sell
do
out
it.
the event.
Dan, best of luck. We'll see you next week.
Thank you guys very much.